Hi there. I'm Earl the Pearl Monroe. You're watching Jalen and Jacoby.
Welcome to Jalen and Jacoby. In for Jalen Rose, we will have Ryan Hollins later, but right now we have Stan Van Gundy. Thank you so much for doing the show.
Absolutely. I've done a lot of subbing for Jalen this year. Here now, out on Countdown.
I've seen it.
I'm like the bench guy coming in behind the starter.
Listen,
Jalen's doing a little load management, so I get my opportunity.
Yes, I've been an entire career of being second banana to Jalen Rose. It's not a bad place to be. It's not a bad place to be.
Not at all. I don't mind it at all. Jalen's a great talent. I'm the backup. I keep myself ready.
You're a great bench scorer.
Absolutely.
You're like Vinnie Johnson.
I keep myself ready, though not in shape.
No.
But I'm not in shape, but I do keep myself mentally ready to go.
Well, we appreciate having you. Last night, we had a Western Conference semifinal, Game 2 between the Nuggets and Blazers. The Nuggets looked really good in Game 1. Last night, different story. Ooh. The Blazers led throughout. They'd had a great game defensively against the Nuggets. They had a balanced performance from the Blazers. What did you think about the Blazers last night?
Well, I think it's a great win for them. They went on the road, got a win with their best player who's had a great playoffs, having an off night, didn't shoot it well, didn't score a lot of points. They survived 23 offensive rebounds from the Nuggets, 14 of them in the fourth quarter. To have all of that happen and still walk out with a win, that's a huge night for Portland.
I mean, the Blazers offense, like you said, Dame didn't have a great night, but Rodney Hood contributed and Enes Kanter contributed. It was nice to see other people step up. What did you think about the contributions of players like Hood and Kanter and McCollum?
Yeah, no, look, I mean, we know McCollum. I mean, the guy's a star. He may not get talked about all the time, but he's a star. So nothing surprising there. But Rodney Hood's been up and down. That was a big performance last night.
Rodney Hood's been up and down his entire career, let's be honest. Yeah.
He does. He's a little bit of a tease. You see him at his best, and you go, wow, this guy's really, really good. You see him at other times, you're like, he's not doing anything. But Kanter has really stepped up the entire playoffs. We all bemoaned the loss of Nurkic, but this guy's been outstanding. And then the guy we didn't talk about, who I thought did a great job last night, was Zach Collins off the bench. Scored the ball. He's good defensively. I think he's going to be a very good player in this league. Anytime you can get a win on the road in Portland without Damian Lillard having a great night, it's huge.
And Enes Kanter's an interesting story. I mean, I live in New York, so I pay attention to the Knicks, and he wasn't getting playing time. He was picked up by the Blazers, and they're probably someone they're looking to play 10 minutes to back up Nurkic. All of a sudden, Nurkic goes down, and now Kanter's thrust in this position. He's really stepped up this series, but everyone says, you can't play him because of defense. But he's played pretty well defensively. What did you see from him against Nurkic?
Yeah, look, I think he's not as good defensively against the pick and roll as Nurkic is.
No.
But he's done a lot better job than people thought he could. And it's these kind of midseason pickups, I think, that general managers in particular don't get enough credit for. I mean, nobody talked about, what a great move when Neil O'Shea picked up Enes Kanter.
No.
But it becomes a huge move. In
every series, guys like Gasol. In every series, there's someone.
Right.
Yeah.
And nobody. Well, the Gasol move got a little bit more attention. Like, I lived down in Orlando, and they picked up Michael Carter Williams, and everybody was like, he played great for him, got him into the playoffs, and they played a fairly competitive series in the first round. The general managers, I think a lot of times, everybody's just looking at the marquee moves. These are the moves that make a huge difference. There's no way we're watching Portland playing basketball at this time of year if they don't make that Enes Kanter.
That's a really good point. And then Portland, as we know, got swept in the last 2 seasons. And, everyone talks about C.J. McCollum and Dame Lillard. Well, C.J. McCollum scored 20 points last night. He was 8 for 20 from the field, had himself a really good game. And the chorus last season around this time was, we got to break up this backcourt. Do you feel that these two are too redundant to be a starting backcourt moving forward?
Not at all. Look, first of all, the league's gotten smaller. Second of all, having shooting is obviously a premium. Having multiple ball handlers is important. And these may be the two best leaders at the top of a rotation of anybody in the league. They have a great relationship between them. There's no signs of any jealousy. They have it seems anyway, great relationship with their coach, Terry Stotts. A lot of mutual respect. Their teammates seem to love both of them. Look, everybody around the league was hoping Neil Olshey would make one of them. Well, probably
because one of them would end up in a different uniform.
But I don't think anybody actually thought that he should. He's done a great job keeping them together, and they're showing what they're all about.
One of the things
right
I
now.
love about McCollum's game is there's so much focus on this sort of like James Hardification of the game. Layups, free throws, three-pointers, layups, free throws, three-pointers. McCollum's like, you know what? I'll hit 15-foot jump shots all day.
Well, we've seen the analytics sort of turned on its head here in these playoffs, to be quite honest. And my brother and I were talking a couple of days ago, and he made a great point to me. We might need to reassess, and maybe the analytics aren't the same in the playoffs because people are trying to take away threes and layups and free throws. And so we've seen guys in the mid-range game
Look at Kevin Durant.
thriving. 55% of Kevin Durant's shots in the playoffs are mid-range twos, and he's the leading scorer in the playoffs. Kawhi Leonard's living on the pull-up jumper. CJ McCollum. Well, we've seen it turned on in. It's a viable threat. The mid-range game is not dead. In fact, it's important at this time of year.
I'm glad you brought that up because I definitely believe that as well. And one thing you said that was really smart is the analytics, right? They talk about the sample size. Well, you've got 82 regular season games, but the game changes in the playoffs, and maybe the mid-range is more valuable there. How is playoff basketball different than regular season basketball?
Well, I think, clearly, you're playing only against good teams in the playoffs.
Yep.
Right? Number one. Number two, the intensity is up. Nobody's taking possessions off at this time of year. And then number three, the preparation is so much more extensive in what you're trying to do. So the analytics tell you, and I heard it said on the broadcast last night, Michael Malone's okay giving up the mid-range jumper. And I think a lot of teams are
Guess
like
what? We're okay taking the mid-range jumper.
Well, and so a lot of times you're playing against a good defensive team. It's hard enough just to get a good shot. I don't think you can always determine which ones you're going to take. This is the shot their defense offered up. We've got to take it and knock it down.
And we've seen from this Portland Trailblazers team, specifically Dame Lillard, some hero moments. Not just the game winner against the Thunder, but he's had huge games and played really well. But this was a very balanced win for this team, and Dame Lillard spoke about that after the game. Let's listen to Dame.
Tonight, I think it was just a much better team game. We had so many guys involved. Taking advantage of the post-ups, with the smaller guards guarding Rodney and E.T., Mo early in the game. We took advantage of those things, and, that led to so many other guys touching it. They tried to double on the block. We hitting other guys on the weak side, and they're attacking and, dropping it off for layups and, weak side open shots. So I think when you play that way, it leads to more guys touching the ball, and you get that type of result. More guys having double-digit scoring and more production.
What do you think about that from Dame?
I mean, this guy's the best. We just talked about it. He really gets it. I think a couple of things about him, and you could say the same about McCollum. Number one, he's just all about winning and the team. Terry Stotts called him the best star leader in the league. Those guys are never rattled either. No matter what goes on in a game, I don't know anybody's got two guys like that. Nothing bothers them. You don't see them very often in these vehement discussions with referees.
No.
They're poised. They're coachable. They're all about winning, and they're constantly, and especially Damian Lillard, we heard it right there, giving praise and respect to their teammates. It truly is a team game in Portland, and you got to give most of the credit to that to Damian Lillard because he can do whatever he wants. I mean, J.J. Redick had great comments the other day in an article about Joel Embiid. When you're a star, the way this league is, you can get away with whatever you want, but should you? And we have a great example of leadership in Damian Lillard. I think guys line up to follow him, and they're following him in the right direction.
Very quickly, I want to show you something that happened towards the end of the game in the waning moments. We have a free throw. Keep an eye on Enes Kanter. Jokic pushes him, and then he bumps into Craig, who had his nose broken earlier. A skirmish ensues, okay? And during this skirmish, Evan Turner and others left the bench. I've always felt like this was a silly rule that you get an automatic suspension if you leave the bench. I think it should be like a judgment call, a case-by-case basis. Do you agree that this rule is kind of silly?
Yeah, but you have to go back and understand the genesis of it. I mean, they had fights years ago spill into the fans. It was a bad look for the NBA.
Yes.
They wanted to eliminate it, and so it was absolute zero tolerance for leaving the bench. I mean, I was in Miami as an assistant, and we had a lot of Knicks players suspended when my brother was.
Your brother was on the other side. Yeah, I remember he looked like a mop on the floor. Who's he grabbing on? PJ Brown?
It was Alonzo.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
This was a different game. They got guys suspended, which allowed us to get to a game 7, which unfortunately, didn't necessarily go the way we wanted. But, so those are the genesis of it. But yeah, I look, if you have to take the intent of why somebody's coming off the bench. If he gets involved in the altercation, even if he tries to pull an opposing player away, yes, suspend him. Stay on the bench. But if he goes out to sort of get his own teammates away.
I just feel like it's something that you should look at the tape and then make a decision. That's all.
Case.
Let's just do case by case. It just makes more sense to me.
I think it
I'll
does
write a strongly worded email to Adam Silver, and I'll have you sign it, and we'll send it along, and we'll
Let's
see.
do that.
Kiki Vandeweghe and them listen.
Adam will care about as much about what I say as he does about what you say.
I think he'll care more about what you say.
I don't
to
think
be
so.
honest.
I don't think so. Not on this.
Coming up next, we have some interesting information about the New York Knicks and specifically James Dolan. I'll tell you right after this.
On car insurance, Corona Extra, find your beach, and BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Coming to you live from the South Street Seaport, Pier 17 to be exact, and brought to you by Heineken. Welcome back to Jalen Jacoby. Stan Van Gundy in for Jalen Rose. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, this next piece of news came across, and I didn't know what to make of it. I'm so excited to talk to you about it. So, MSG shareholders went to Delaware and filed a civil suit against James Dolan, the owner of the Knicks and CEO of MSG. And they said that he doesn't put enough time into his role as CEO. He pays himself too much, and this is my favorite part, he spends too much of his time focused on his band. Okay, I can't speak to the validity of the allegations. I'm not part of the MSG group. I don't know whether or not he spends too much time there on his band or whatever, but do you think these allegations and this behavior and the rumors about him hurt the Knicks as a franchise?
Well, to the degree that public perception is not great, I think it hurts them with their fans.
Yes.
For sure. But not with players, I don't think, around the league. I don't think players care, to be quite honest.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think they're going to cities they want to live in, people they want to play with, a chance to win. Obviously the money, but that's the same everywhere. And I think if they have those things, they're not going to worry a lot about other stuff.
Well, it's interesting to hear you say that because you hear specifically about Sarver in Phoenix and Dolan in New York as sort of being bad owners, constantly turning over the front office and just, making decisions, getting too involved in basketball decisions. You don't think that a player like Kevin Durant or a big free agent considers that before they pick to play for one of those teams?
Well, I don't know. I can't speak to that totally, but I don't think so. I've never really heard players criticizing owners or being upset about owners. That's not something that I have run across. I mean, again, to me, it's money, it's place to live, it's who do you want to play with and your chance to win. And if people provide that, then I think they're good.
Have you ever heard players criticizing head coaches?
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah, I've heard that to my face and behind my back, yes. And you know what? A lot of times the criticism's deserved.
That's fair. That's very fair. Well, Kevin Durant has once again put himself in this sort of best player on the planet conversation with especially his playoff performance. And, I think the Warriors were a little lackadaisical during the regular season. And that Clippers series, they lost a 31-point lead with that famous game 2 in Oracle. And here's what Kevin Durant had to say about his approach to the postseason. He said, "This is where the bleep is fun. This is when it's serious and I'm just embracing it. I'm just having so much fun right now. This is the time of year is what I'm geared for. I'm just hooping at a high level and enjoying the competitiveness of the playoffs." How are the playoffs different for a player than the regular season?
Well, look, this is the time they all want to get to. You're on the big stage, more people watching. You're competing against the best teams and the best players on a nightly basis. And if you're a competitor, which a guy like Kevin Durant certainly is, you love the challenge of going out against the best people every night and seeing if you can get the job done.
What have you seen from KD in these playoffs that's different than what you see from him in the regular season?
This guy's great all the time. We had that weird game 2 against the Clippers when he just basically refused to shoot the ball.
Yeah.
And he made, he gave his reasons for that. But since then, he's just been on an incredible tear. There's no one that can stop this guy. And not only does everyone else know it, Kevin Durant knows it. And so he can get whatever shot he wants, whenever he wants, and he's usually going to make it. He is the most unstoppable force in the league right now. So
you say that he's the most unstoppable force in the league, and I truly believe that, but I personally deal with recency bias. Like, I'll watch a 45-point Kawhi Leonard performance and what he does on offense and defense, be like, well, that's clearly the best player in the league. And then I'll watch Kevin Durant and be like, well, that's clearly the best player in the league. And then I'll be like, well, I forgot about LeBron. He's the best player in the league. And then Giannis will do something to be like, well, he's the best player in the league. Do you really feel like Kevin Durant is the best player in the National Basketball Association?
I don't know if he's the best player. I think he's the most unstoppable offensive force. I mean, he's the... You can't do a lot with any of these guys.
Yeah.
But Kevin Durant, to me, above everything, because of his size and everything else, and his ball handling's improved so much that he can get where he wants to go on the floor, and he can raise up, and there's not a darn thing you can do about it. And it's just make or miss with him.
Yeah.
As good as the other guys are, I mean, Harden averaged 36 points a game. I at least feel like you've got some choices on what you can do to limit him. And we've seen him have games where it looked like it was difficult for him to get quality shots. I never see that with Kevin Durant. He'll have nights where he misses. But I don't recall ever seeing a night where I'm saying, boy, KD really looks like he's having trouble getting good shots tonight.
Absolutely. And like in this series against the Rockets, I don't feel like this series is over. And let me make this pitch. Game 1 was a 3-point game, and game 2 was Chris Paul at the 3-point line with a practice 3-pointer to make it a 1-possession game with about a minute left. They're in it, and they're going back home. I'm still in the camp that the Rockets aren't going to win the series, but this could go 6 or 7. Do you agree?
I totally agree. You're preaching to the choir here. I think it is so funny that no one thought Golden State played great in the Clippers series. And then they win 2 close games at home.
Yep.
And all of a sudden they're dominant and unbeatable. I'm not buying that. And that's with getting 18 offensive rebounds and getting 17 Houston turnovers in game 2. And it's still close. There's certainly Houston doesn't even need to be close to perfect to beat this team. They just need to not beat themselves, take care of rebounding the ball a little bit better. I think they get game 3. I think they're going to get game 4, and we're going to have a 3-game series.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, I really do. I think it's going to be, I thought so at the beginning. I'm not going to back off. I think it's going to be a long series.
Yeah, I think so too. And it sounds insane, and none of my friends agree with me when we discuss it, over beers at the bar, but I really think that this could be a 6 or 7 game series, and I'm not writing the Rockets off, even though they would need to win 4 out of 5. But this Warriors team, like I said, they've had some high peaks, but they've also had some valleys over the course of the season. It seems like they're clicking right now, especially with that last game 2 performance when they got contributions from everybody in the Hamptons 5. What do you feel about the way they're clicking right now?
Well, look, game 2, they got a lot of people involved.
Yes.
But over the course of 8 games in the playoffs, there's still been ups and downs. They lose 2 home games to an 8-seeded Clipper team.
Yeah.
That's far from a dominant performance. And they had 2 close games in this round. They've been good. I think they're playing better. I've been impressed with their defense, but I don't think they've been dominant by any stretch of the imagination.
How does Andre Iguodala continue to do this?
It's incredible. I mean, he was basically playing as a center offensively last game. Draymond Green was catching the ball and roll and throwing lobs.
He was like in the Clint Capella role. Yeah.
Yes, that's where he was. And give Steve Kerr some credit for that, too, because nobody thinks of that. I'm going to take a 2-guard, but I'm going to play him on the baseline because he's not a great shooter. This is what's best for us.
That's a good point.
Creative and very, very good.
What he does on defense is just great as well.
Phenomenal.
Stan Van Gundy, thank you so much for coming through. You're welcome to come back to the studio anytime. Maybe even Jalen will be here next time.
I doubt it.
You and Jalen are never in the same place.
We don't play in the same unit.
You're like the president and the vice president.
Unit.
You can't be in the same place at the same time. You're too valuable to us.
No, when Jalen's out of the game, I check in.
Thank you so much. Ryan Hollins will be here to join me and Jalen Jacoby right after this.
It's Ace's.
Man, what up? Shout out my man John. By the way, wish him a speedy recovery. He's the video man over in Portland. He's the reason everybody had their ties on. He was there with us with the Clippers in his humble beginnings. Speedy recovery, my man. Speedy recovery.
Big shout to John. Well, last night, the Blazers bounced back to even the Western Conference semifinals. And one thing that was notable was the play of Nikola Jokic. He was so good in game one. He wasn't bad in game two, but he was pretty limited. He was 7 for 17, 14 rebounds, 7 assists. What did the Blazers do to limit his offensive production?
Well, the one thing you have to do with Jokic is you have to stay disciplined. You got to stay patient as a defender. Why do you have to stay patient as a defender? Because he's an amazing passer.
Yes.
And when he gets you in the red area, what is the red area? The restricted area, the paint. When he's close enough to score, now you double team. Now the game plan goes out the window and you go and help. And that's what the Blazers did excellent, and they did well. It was not just one man, it was a committee. But it's so tough with Jokic because this man is an absolute assassin. He is quite arguably the best passing center that we have ever seen ever in the history of the NBA.
I would argue Sabonis still holds that title, and a lot of people watching the show have no idea who that is. I'm not talking about Sabonis from the Pacers. But you make a really good point. One thing they did do is they did double him, and when you're watching the game and he gets a double team, when you're watching the screen, find the open person, and then immediately he finds the ball to them. But the double teams were pretty effective last night, but there was one pass from this excellent center that we have to highlight, and it is this one, where Jokic has the ball, and then just puts it right through Aminu's legs for Millsap. What did you think about the 5-hole from Aminu?
So, for one, that is an unreal pass. For two, in regards to Al-Farouq Aminu, I've been there before. And what's sad about this, yes, it happened to me. And Steve Nash actually did it to me on a pick and roll.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, it was Steve Nash. But this
if it's going to be anybody, it's Steve Nash.
This was the embarrassing part, Jacoby. In the game when it happened, I didn't know that it happened. And later on, I'm watching NBA TV, and on NBA TV, Ryan Hollins is the #1 player in the highlights. And I'm like, why would, that was just
I had 4 points. I was 2 for 6.
Yeah,
why am I being the highlights?
Well, Steve Nash threw the ball through your legs, Ryan Hollins, and that's why you're on the highlights, my man.
What is the most embarrassing thing to happen to you on an NBA basketball court?
Quite possibly, I think rookie year, I went in the game. I was so excited, because I'm a bench guy. So the bench guy, when he comes in the game, I fly off the bench. Fly off the bench. And in my rookie year, I flew off the bench. I grabbed my jersey, and my shooting shirt, and I ripped off the shooting shirt and my entire top. Everything just came off at the same time.
Well, listen, you also have some very high highlights. I've seen you dunk on people, so, it all comes full circle.
Yeah.
Well,
I was ready, though. I was ready.
It is now time for one of my favorite segments.
Ooh.
It is time for unfounded, irresponsible speculation about free agent Kevin Durant. Now, Ryan, we do this often on the show. It seems like all season we've been sort of held hostage by this free agent decision by one of the best players in the league, if not the best player in the league. And there's little sprinkles of information about him selling some real estate or opening an office in New York City. Well, this one is one of the more ludicrous ones that we have. It's been reported by the New York Post or I'd say speculated by the New York Post, that if Kevin Durant comes to the Knicks, not only will he star as a Knicks basketball player, that he will also, wait for it, host his own show on the MSG network. Ryan, do you think this is true? And do you think Kevin Durant wants to take my job and host a show on a national network?
Well, there's two sides to this story.
Okay.
For one, I know a certain Kevin Durant is very active now in the media. He's outspoken. Yes. And the one thing I love, he's not afraid to speak his mind. And when I saw him at All-Star Weekend, that's the first thing I said. I said, KD, keep speaking up. Don't change for anybody. Now, the other hand in this is it's absolutely impossible. There's no way that a player of the magnitude of Kevin Durant would have time to host his own show and play. This would be a horrible sign for the Knicks. That means that he is tapping out of basketball, and the man is not committed.
Well, so look at this. Look at this right here. We've got his own show, and look who the leader of the band is on his show. That is none other than James Dolan, the owner of the Knicks. So, a couple things. NFL quarterbacks do this. College coaches do this. Everyone's got like a weekly radio show where they do it, but they have schedules where they're, the football schedule is different. You come home every week.
Yes.
I don't know how this could possibly happen with someone with road trips and everything. Maybe it's like a short series, but if this is an actual thing that's real, which I don't think it is, but if this is an actual thing that's real, it's just kind of like, Kevin Durant, just focus on the basketball, man. It's the same thing with LeBron. It's like, just focus on the basketball. You can do anything you want. You can have all the shows you want when you retire from the NBA. But if you're going to come to the Knicks to revamp this franchise, it's not going to be easy. We know the Knicks roster. It's going to take more than Kevin Durant to turn this into a contender, even for the NBA Finals. Please, Kevin, this job is not nearly as much fun as it looks. And that's a total lie, because this job is the best. Now, not only that, we have more Knicks rumors. Carmelo Anthony said that if Kevin Durant comes to the Knicks, that he would take a look at what's going on and consider signing with the New York Knickerbockers. As a pseudo-die-easy Knicks fan, this sounds ridiculous and impossible. Is there any chance that Carmelo Anthony plays for the Knicks again?
Let me go Hoodie Mello for this answer.
Yes, go Hoodie Mello.
Let me go Hoodie Mello for this answer.
Perfect.
Here's the reality. Carmelo Anthony would give... He may give a body part to play for the Knicks again. Listen, Carmelo Anthony back in the NBA, this would be, in respect to Hoodie Mello, this would be unreal. It would be amazing. It would bring star power. It would be, even this could be a guy that could take the New York media's pressure off of Kevin Durant. Because the big notion is, Kevin Durant, how can you come to the New York media and you don't like media? They are ruthless. They will prey on you. But a certain Hoodie Mello could take a lot of pressure off of Kevin Durant, and a man with experience and the star power to say, hey, KD, this is how you do it.
This is the Knicks starting five opening day next year. Kyrie, Kevin Durant, Zion, Carmelo Anthony, Ryan Hollins.
And Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler?
And Jimmy Butler.
I love it. So sometimes there's a piece of video that needs deep analysis. So we have a segment called Going to the Table. And not only have I not caught a foul ball, I've never even had one hit near me. Have you ever caught a foul ball or a home run at a baseball game?
I have not, but as a kid, I understood there was a possibility, and I remember begging my dad to actually take. I took my glove to the game.
You took your glove to the game.
I was that guy sitting. Well, that kid. I was a kid, bro, and I had my glove in my seat.
As a child, yeah. But let's take a look at this gentleman. He's a Dodger fan in the Bay, watching the Dodgers play the Giants, and he has a foul ball hit to him, but he loses the hot dog and the French fries, but gets the ball. Would you rather have the meal or the baseball?
You have to take the baseball over the meal all day because there's only one opportunity to catch a baseball.
No.
There's only
what are
one
you doing
chance.
with that baseball? What are you doing with that baseball when you get home? Like, where's that baseball really going? You know that baseball's going in the garage, and then you're going to throw it away over time. You're not going to use it. But here's the kicker. Not only did he lose his French fries and his hot dog and got the baseball, but look at this. The same guy had another foul ball hit to him, but this time he had a slice of greasy pizza, and he dropped the pizza. Do you think that he is upset. He's happy about getting the baseball or upset that he lost 2 meals and had 2 balls hit to him.
Listen. The baseball far more outweighs the food at this time.
No.
There's no pizza. There's no hot dog. There's nothing. There's being in the game, bro.
There is no value to that baseball. That baseball is just a baseball. There's nothing special about it. And here's another thing. I'm saying this to all people that attend baseball games. If you are over the age of 25 and you have a foul ball hit to you, here's the protocol. You give it to the nearest child. Do not take that baseball home. If you're over 25 and you take a baseball home, you're a bad person. The protocol is this: you give it to the nearest child. That is the protocol. That is the right thing to do.
How do you know
You can't disagree with that. I'm not listening to a disagreement.
How do you know that that guy doesn't have a kid at home that he's going to take it to?
Even if you have a kid at home, the kid at home doesn't know that you had a foul ball hit to you, unless you had 2 hit to you and you lost 2 meals and you ended up on Jalen and Jacoby. When we come back, Ryan, Jalen Rose, thank you so much for doing the show. It is always a pleasure to have you, Mr. Hollins.
Anytime,
It is
man.
also always a pleasure to do soft move or boss move. The first story that we have for soft move or boss move is controversial. I'm sure you're familiar with the soccer player Cristiano Ronaldo. He is has a very lucrative professional career playing soccer. He is well compensated for his time on the pitch. He reportedly has committed to buying what is called a Bugatti La Voiture, which is, I don't know, as TMZ reports, a $19 million vehicle. Now, I don't know if that number is exactly accurate, but this is a 10-figure vehicle. Ronaldo's people have denied that he's committed to buy this thing, but nonetheless, I asked the question. Spending over $10 million on a car, soft move or boss move?
That's the boss move if I've ever seen one.
Wrong.
Because, listen, he got to spend it. He's got the money. He's got the skills to pay the bills. See, there's certain people that this would be just ridiculous. This will make no sense. But this man's, not just his career, but his likeness makes so much money that money does not mean the same thing to Cristiano that it means to me and you.
Okay. I'm going to say soft move. You make a really good case. You do. But I'm going to say soft move, and here's why. Imagine you spent, I don't know, $15, $16 million on a vehicle. I'm not a great driver because I'm a New Yorker. Every time I would bump into something, every time I would get a scratch, every time I parked it, I would just be so concerned about the vehicle. It would cause so much anxiety that it wouldn't be worth having it. And also, I'm sure this thing costs so much money because it's got this engine that goes 300 miles an hour or whatever. I don't want to go 300 miles an hour. I don't even want to go 100 miles an hour. I don't need a fancy sports car. I don't want $1 million car. It would really stress me out. What do you think about that?
Well, he has the money. If it gets scratched or nicked, there's going to be a whole team of people buffing out the scratch the exact day or time that it gets scratched or nicked. Yeah, it probably comes with the service crew.
It comes with someone in the trunk that's there to do anything you want. Exactly. Every time you park it, they get out and just watch it for you. There's definitely a human being in the trunk. They're very comfortable living. They've got good amenities. They're fed. They're fine. But that's probably one of the things that you get when you buy this car. Yeah. Great point by you. Moving on. Bryce Harper. One of the biggest free agents that baseball has seen in quite some time, signed with the Phillies. And, day one didn't go great, so he got some of those Philly boos from the fans in day one. And he started yesterday's game batting .240. He also misplayed a fly ball. There's a pretty routine fly ball. And he heard this from the Philly crowd. The boos. Booing your brand new multi-million-dollar free agent investment if you're a Philly fan. Soft move or boss move?
As a former athlete, this is the biggest soft move that you can do. I admit, I don't like it. I can't stand it. I understand how hard the grind is. You got to understand, this man is not a perfect baseball player. And this is not the time of the year. This is not him swinging out and missing in the World Series. So you got to understand, his best baseball is to come. But I also do understand, Jacoby, that in Philadelphia, they boo. In New York, they boo. That's what it is. Bryce Harper knows he went somewhere that they're going to boo him. He knew the expectations.
So you made a couple of things I want to correct you on. You are a current athlete. You're not a former athlete. You're still very athletic, and your basketball career is still very much alive. Number two, I'm going to say this is a boss move because it's Philadelphia. If this was any other city, I would say it's a soft move, but it's just what you do in Philly. It's your nature. You boo things. You get upset, and that's what happens there. And it's like, you know what, Bryce? If you don't perform, we're going to boo you. That's just our nature. We're being who we are. Always staying true to who you are is a boss move.
Well, shouldn't you always have your guys back? I mean, like I can't cheer for you and boo you. Aren't you kind of like weird? Like, yo, what side are you on, bro?
Here's what's going to happen. We know what this is going to end up. He's going to end up having a great season. They're going to embrace him. They're going to love him, and that's where we're going to end up. And right now, this is the trial period. They're just letting Bryce know who they are early on in the relationship, which is always a boss move. Now, this is something I'm excited to talk to you about. They have in Utah some very strange laws when it comes to alcohol. The latest of which is this. They are banning the sale of beer in axe-throwing places. Totally understandable. You should not be drunk and throwing axes. I get that. And karaoke bars. You are not allowed to drink beer in karaoke. Sober karaoke cannot be a thing. Banning karaoke lounge from serving beer in Utah. Soft move or boss move?
That's the softest move ever. I mean,
really
what is going on? Is there an upgrade of disturbances in the area when karaoke and beer come together?
It's out of control. It's out of control.
Like, what is
They're
going
very
on?
passionate
Like,
about their karaoke in Utah.
it's unfathomable. I can't believe this. I mean, I get the axes. Like, okay, no drinking and throwing
the
axes.
axes make sense.
By the way, where do you throw axes at? Because I need to try that.
That's the same thing. That was my exact reaction when I read this story. I was like, I need to go on an axe throwing adventure ASAP. But another thing is, when it comes to karaoke, beer is a performance-enhancing drug. Like, I've never sung karaoke sober. I don't think anyone's ever sung karaoke sober. It would just be a weird experience to sing karaoke sober. Like, let's get together with my boys and karaoke. I'm not doing that. That's not something I'm doing.
Well, Jacoby, I don't drink. But when I do karaoke, I do hear how bad I sing. But you know what? In spirit of that, hit it, Reg. I got something for you.
What's happening? Oh, get it.
Wow. Gotta give the people what they want.
Little pitchy.
Wow.
I like it.
Wow.
I like it. I like it. The thing is I listen to someone sing that terribly every day, so that actually wasn't that bad. Ryan Hollins, we will now move on. You're familiar with the Happy Meal from McDonald's, correct?
Very much.
Of course, I used to love a Happy Meal. And it was also nice because it had the connotation of being happy. The meal made me happy, especially when I was a child. Well, Burger King, they've done something about that. They now have boxed meals that come with a variety of different moods. They have a pissed meal, a blue meal, a salty meal, a yas meal, and a DGAF meal. They have unhappy meals. Soft move or boss move?
It's kind of a boss move.
Ooh.
That's kind of a boss move. Because if I'm not feeling it right now, I'm just not feeling it. You know?
Doesn't mean I'm not hungry.
I would love to always be happy, but sometimes I'm a little salty. There's nothing wrong with being a little salty sometimes. It happens, like when you don't get a show code on time and you get embarrassed. I'm just saying, there's nothing wrong with being salty.
It's nothing wrong with being salty. And also, it's like, just because I'm in a bad mood or I'm down or I'm mad about something doesn't mean I don't want a burger and some fries. Maybe a toy with that. Like, why not? I'm totally with that.
What meal would you be eating right now, my friend?
The appreciative of Ryan Hollins being on the show today, meal. That's exactly what I would have. And not only on the show now, right after this, we are going to preview tonight's action in the NBA playoffs. Stay tuned. Just when you thought RBC